In other news tonight, Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts will begin an inquiry tomorrow that's going to look into allegations of wrongdoing at the Road Accident Fund, where we know even at leadership level there have been multiple changes in recent months and, in fact, over years. Let's get more on the work of this SCOPA session of hearings, in fact, that's going to begin tomorrow. Bring in the Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Songezo Zibi, who I know has been waiting for a while now to speak to us, Mr. Zibi. So thank you for your time. So let's get a state of readiness report then, as far as the start of the inquiry tomorrow, and your assessment just on the surface of just how big a task lies ahead of SCOPA here.
Good evening, Tembegile, and thanks for having me. The committee is ready to proceed tomorrow. We are going to spend these first weeks. Firstly, we're going to run for about 4 to 5 weeks. We are going to spend this week on what we establishing some of the basic facts of governance within the Road Accident Fund, between the Road Accident Fund and the Ministry of Transport, as well as taking presentations from the Auditor General and the Special Investigating Unit, which will be really important for the public's understanding of the extent and the type of problems that we are going to be dealing with. But the matters, they are quite serious, Tembegile, because there are hundreds of thousands of claimants whose claims have simply not been processed at all. And the Road Accident Fund has continued to incur significant losses in terms of its own revenue because of accumulated legal costs, punitive costs by the court, interest on unpaid claims and other legal responsibilities and so on. So there's a range of issues that we're going to be dealing with over the next 4 to 5 weeks.
On that note then, I know you're hearing first tomorrow from the Transport Department and the Road Accident Fund itself. Who from these organizations will appear before the committee to give you the answers that you want?
So tomorrow is for the committee and the public's understanding of how the Road Accident Fund works and how the ministry oversees the Road Accident Fund. I think that's really important for the public to understand, because when you start later on talking about instances of wrongdoing, both the members of the committee as well as members of the public who will be watching need to understand the legal and procedural framework in which the Road Accident Fund operates. So the people that are coming tomorrow are coming to assist the committee and the public to deepen their understanding. Then on Wednesday, we will take a presentation from the Auditor General that will begin to dig into some of the problems the Auditor General has identified within the Road Accident Fund. And then it will be the Special Investigating Unit. So it's only in a couple of weeks' time that we will get to ask those responsible, and I would say maybe in a week's time, we'll get to ask those responsible to respond to some of the allegations that would have then been placed on before the committee.
On the scope then of what you'll be able to look at, you're confined, aren't you, to the financial years 2020, 2021, all the way to 2024, 25. But the problems at the Road Accident Fund go well before that time. So I wonder how helpful you think that limited time frame will be in understanding especially the roots of the problems at the Road Accident Fund.
Look, what we considered in determining the time period was also the time when the unhelpful patterns that have caused the Road Accident Fund significant losses began to take place, because like any institution, it has problems over time for a number of years. But for example, the Road Accident Fund has incurred over 5 billion rand in default judgments as a result of a decision to do away with the panel of attorneys without a plan. Now, that decision took place within the time period that we are looking at. The media contracts to the amount of 1 billion rand took place within this period of time. So we've looked at specific pieces of information relative to some of the financial losses that we have observed, and they happen to fall within this period. That's what I'm trying to say. They happen to fall within this period. So we were guided by the information available to us.
And I recall a statement that you issued when the Transport Minister dissolved the board of the entity, I think it was in July, where you said this inquiry, this process would go ahead nonetheless because you're looking at systemic issues and not necessarily individuals. But the two are likely to intersect, right? Because the people who have been placed in charge of the Road Accident Fund over successive years are likely the cause of the very systemic problems, no?
No, correct. We have actually gone as far back as 3 boards of the Road Accident Fund ago. So we're asking everyone to account for the period that they were not there. So the current board and the previous board will not be asked to account for something that happened in 2020, 2021. So we've invited those board members and will supply them with any information that implicates them or information that we've received from the Road Accident Fund that they need in order to prepare to account to the committee. So yes, we will be inviting current and former. In fact, we have invited them, current and former employees and board members of the Road Accident Fund to come and account.
There was a report last week, I don't know if you saw, figures attributed to the acting transport minister at the time, Hosien Suramukhopa, on the issue of monies disbursed by the Road Accident Fund. Of that, I think was about 546 million rand, yes, 546 million rand in claims paid out to foreign nationals for 2024-25. That's the financial period. Firstly, I wonder if that strikes you as odd, and B, whether it will form part of the things that you want the current and former Road Accident Fund board members and others to respond to.
No, in fact, the Road Accident Fund, I don't believe that they deliberately set out to break the law in that instance, and we are not looking at it. The Road Accident Fund was instructed by the courts to pay those people after protracted litigation. And so I don't think in that instance we can conclude, and the courts certainly did not say that there was an egregious failure to comply with the law. I think one of the things that needs to happen is that we need to change the law, because currently, to simplify it for viewers, anybody who puts in petrol or diesel and is in a vehicle that purchased or put in petrol in a diesel, petrol or diesel in a car or motor vehicle and used a South African road and was involved in a car accident is considered to have been insured for that purpose. The law doesn't specify that if you're South African or not South African, you're not supposed to get paid. That's not a creation of the Road Accident Fund. It's the job of the ministry and parliament to change the law and make it specific as to who qualifies to receive a payout from the Road Accident Fund.
And I was asking you that question because, you know, at the moment, anything that mentions public spending and foreign nationals creates a lot of conversation. But as things stand, do you think the Road Accident Fund is on a positive path to recovery, to being saved?
Look, I mean, there are many problems at the Road Accident Fund. There is a new board. The level of cooperation between the committee and this new board during the period of preparing for this inquiry has been excellent, I have to say. Unlike previous occasions where we struggled to get even the most basic information, the board has facilitated the transfer of, I think, more than 10,000 pages of documents to the committee for us to consider and prepare for the inquiry. They have also told staff at the Road Accident Fund that if they are approached by Parliament or any law enforcement or Chapter 9 institution for assistance in their investigations, they must not be afraid that they will be victimized. They must cooperate in full and just tell the truth. We think that's a good signal from the board, but the organization itself is years away from recovery, years away.
Songezo Zibi, Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, that will tomorrow begin hearings looking at allegations of multiple forms of wrongdoing at the Road Accident Fund.